Hey, all right, Facebook. Welcome to Hard Conversations with Queen. Tonight, Amy was supposed to be joining me, and she still might try to pop in. However, she is currently at the protest after the shooting of Mr. Blake, another black man, in the back 7 times, um, according to what she tells me, in front of his 3 children. Now, I have not, full disclosure, I have not watched the video, nor have I really read much about. Okay, I'm back. I think I am having problems connecting. Um, Sorry about that. I am traveling right now, so I'm having some issues with my Wi-Fi. But anyway, I was talking about Mr. Blake, and what I will say is this: like I said, full disclosure, I haven't watched the video, nor have I read a whole lot about it. And I will share with you why, because I'm sure that many Black people are going through this same thing, and that is there's trauma that we all go through when we watch such videos. And that's why, we hear all the time why it's so important to not allow children to watch a lot of TV or play games with a lot of violence in it. Now, we advise parents to protect children from violent games and violent movies. But our Black children have to watch this in real life as their parents are gunned down by those who um, are supposed to protect us. Yet, post after post, um, article after article tells us that although white people are willing to believe that about their children, how violence would affect them, there are many who will not believe that about how in real life, when real people are being murdered in front of their children, in front of their families, in front of their communities, they don't seem to think of it as trauma to those who watch people who look like themselves, who look like their brothers and their fathers and their sons and their daughters and their mothers and their aunts, don't seem to quite be able to grasp or understand how then Black people can keep talking about this as if they are living through trauma after trauma after trauma every day, on top of that which life throws at us naturally, normally, right? Where we still have to deal with the things such as sickness, disease, death, fear, the need to provide, put food on the table, get up and go to work every day. I still see and hear directly from people who just can't understand what the big deal is. And so tonight, what me and Amy were supposed to be discussing is, are all opinions, are all viewpoints, are they all created equal when it comes to the conversation of racism? And based off of how we accept and understand knowledge, and knowledge and science and how we know a thing, how we learn a thing, how we make decisions about a thing based off of how we in society have um, understood the best way to come about conclusions. We usually look at things, listen from people who actually have um, some kind of mastery of the subject, some kind of real working knowledge of it, right? But when it comes to this thing called racism, we all jump into the conversation and think that everybody's viewpoint is valid and valuable. Last night, one of the things that I said is if we were wanting to talk about the well being of young men and how to best make their life, give them a life that thrives, we would not call up Jeffrey Dahmer and ask him to the table to give us his opinion. Yet, every day, day in, day out, we listen to those who have no inkling of the racism that they have been conditioned in and that they have been imbued with through teaching, through marketing. You know, I've said time and time before, I've used the analogy that we all know how this country got started. We know what happened. It's in the history books. As much as perfume has been sprinkled all over it, there are some things that we cannot deny. We all know that this land was inhabited before Europeans came and quote unquote discovered it. We all know who worked the fields. We all know that. That is not something that you could argue and make not have happened, not have been, right? We understand that. And so understanding that, and here we are generations later, and we're born into it, born into this country. So that's like being born into a swimming pool. And then you look around at the people around you and insist that you're not wet. Yet we continue to see and hear people insist that they're not wet. And not only are they not wet, but water ain't either. So that which we're all in, that's not wet either. I know it's water, but it's not wet. I know it's water and you're in it, but you're not wet. I'm not wet. So if you were literally standing in a pool of water and you turn to the person next to you and they said to you, I'm not wet, would you go to them for their expertise on the subject of being in a pool filled with water? And that's what social media has allowed. And I'm not saying it in a negative way about social media, because it also brings us the ability to hear the experts and hear the truths. And mind you, as I'm speaking, I'm not even, I don't consider myself speaking as an expert, right? I'm not speaking as an expert. However, what I have recognized is that it also allows those who really should take themselves out of the conversation, be the loudest ones in the conversation, the distractors, the detractors, those who are right now. Now, listen, I quickly went through my feed on Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook much, but I quickly went through my feed. One, to definitely, I was quick about it because I was trying to skip over any chance of me seeing that video or really taking in any information around it. And as I scrolled, what was interesting to me is that the very ones who, I saw a lot of posts from those who, when the Black Lives Matter movement flared up again, more so around the murder of George Floyd, when that happened, I saw them posting about how, oh my goodness, we have to do something against this Black Lives Matter, and we have to, get. I saw all of that, right? But today, today, when I see on a lot of Black people's feed the angst and anguish around yet seeing another vicious attempt to take the life of a Black man under the guise of law and order, as I see that on all their feeds, you know what I see on the feeds of those who were so concerned about the morality of Black Lives Matter? They're posting things like jokes and about flowers, or, funny things, or what have you. It's not even on their radar. But yet, when they were on the moral side about, is Black Lives Matter moral, or they're trying to defund the police, or things like that, it was out of righteousness and godliness. It was because it was the moral thing to do. Yet, in these times, when you see a life, I mean, even the pro-life people. And so, do you want those who don't understand what life is, should they have, should their voice weigh the same when it comes to pro-life, if they are able to not see life as life under the circumstances of race? Oh, look at that. Now I can see comments tonight. So, hey, comment, ask questions if you like. If Amy tries to jump in, I will let her in. They are not moral as a whole. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is a question. Like, what is morality? What is morality, and how do we, how do we measure it? How do we set it? What is the standard? Again, last night, when we started these talks off, we said it was inspired by a book that I was reading. It's an argument that was turned into a book. So it's supposed to be a real quick read, but it hasn't been quick for me because it causes me to really think and contemplate things as I read. So I haven't even gotten to the first chapter yet. I'm just in the introduction. And it's written by Sam Harris, called The Moral Landscape. Right. And it challenges us as a society off of how we view morality. And can morality be another arm of science? Can we actually come up with moral codes based off of science? And so what his argument is going into is, if we look at well-being of people, well-being, he used well-being. So happiness, well-being of people. If you can track and trace, just like you do with food, where you say, if you eat these things, then it takes away from health. When you eat these things, then it supports health. We can do the same thing in society. When these things are done, it takes away from well-being. When these things are done, it supports well-being. Well, when you have a group of people who cannot identify back with me. Okay, there we are. If you can chat back with me, if you can hear me or not, whenever I find myself cycling on this end, I would appreciate it, so I know whether to end the broadcast. But anyway, um, should we, like, when you have a group of people, whoever they are, and I don't care what color they are either, but whoever they are, but we know that in this country, the majority, 76%, over 76% are white, right? And whether it be those who are in power or the residents itself, 76% are white, 13.4% black. All right, keep that in context, because when we're having these discussions, again, when you have people speaking as if the problems are held up and supported and in place and kept in place by 13%, you're going to tell me that 13% overpower 76%? We know that that's not how this country was built, and we know that's not how it's ran. However, when we're in the discussion, we talk as if Black people are keeping these things in place or helping keep these things in place, and are the ones who it depends on to abolish these things. Remember, 13%. If you were running a company and you were 76% owner and the company was going into the tank, would you allow it to go into the tank saying, well, hey, I only own 76% and I don't know, it's that 13%. It's their fault. It wouldn't even make sense business-wise. It wouldn't even make sense. But yet in this country, we make that make sense, right? So out of the 76%, whose voices really, who should weigh more? Would it be those who understand that they're in the pool, right? Or are the ones who are in the pool and insist that water's not wet? Are their voices really created equal in this conversation? I would say in any conversation, one of the things that we say about professionals is a professional is someone who know what they know and then know what they don't know, right? Same thing with those who are in a conversation. When you're in a conversation, good conversationalists know what they know and they know what they don't know. Well, there's a lot of people who don't know what they don't know. They think they know. And they get in on this conversation of racism thinking they, number one, know what it is. That by itself, I'm amazed at how many people don't actually, and Black, white, or any color, who haven't even done the research to understand for themselves based off of historical documents written by the people who set everything in place, that they don't know what racism is. So but then they're in on the conversation, right? So I hope the leadership will change, because I understand. Yes. Will they change? I'm not sure. The hopelessness of this. I know y'all hear all that background noise. I told y'all I'm traveling, so I have my grandkids in the background. I have my daughter in the background. They're all, so y'all hear that, just focus right here. I'm good. So anyway, I will hope. But however, if we look back at history and how such things are changed, they fall. That's what happens. They're not changed. They fall. They implode or explode. Unless we want to get into South Africa and our apartheid. They've led the way. They've showed us that it can be done, right? They showed us that it can be done. So even that, we have scientific data, which is just you study thing and you notate it and you watch it and you test it. It's been tested. It's all right there. We can go watch the videos. We can read the books. We can read the transcripts of how they did it and how it went about. We choose not to. And then we choose to pretend that we're not choosing not to. Like it's all convoluted. So my challenge to you all is to know yourself well enough to know, should you remove yourself from the conversation at times, right? Are you adding to the conversation, or are you fighting against something that you don't know anything about? Are you all right, there we go. All right, y'all, I'm gonna make this real quick now because this thing gonna shut down on me before I know it and just shut me up, and then I'm gonna be feeling like they throwing something at me. But anyway, my challenge to you all, especially if you are white, are you speaking against something that you don't understand in an effort to preserve your own sense of goodness? We're all wet. This is not about your sense of goodness, if you're a good person or not. You were born into this just like we all were. So taking this personal instead of taking ownership of it is part of the problem. So my challenge to you is, if you're can you identify when you're taking it personal and not adding to the conversation but distracting from the conversation, therefore needing to utilize some self by through self-criticism in a good way to remove yourself from the conversation when you're in that vein, and then go and study, go and read so that you can take ownership and come back into the conversation as part of the solution. So that is all. We'll be back tomorrow night though, and Amy will be with us again. She is at the protest, and because it happened not far from her, she had plenty of several friends in common with Mr. Blake, and so she's there. And thank God that she is, because I can be with her in spirit. But we got to do more than just pray for our nation, but pray nevertheless. But let your prayers be with action and with great intention to first remove the plank from your eye, right? All right, good night. Thank you all for joining us. And we will see you tomorrow night, same time. And I am sure Amy will be with us then. All right, good night.